Hey guys, what's up? Codex here. And yeah, so I'm about to start off very first mid-season first impressions for this year. Actually pretty excited because for this arc or season in particular, there's actually a lot of good things. So yeah, I'll get to that in a bit. So welcome to the winter arc 2016 mid-season first impressions. I know that's a mouthful, but yeah. So this is basically for those of you who are new. This is where I tell you guys what I'm watching this anime season. And since it's at the halfway point, it's a pretty reasonable way to talk about what I thought about them. Just core first impressions, hence the name of the video. So yeah, I did all 4 seasons last year, and of course I intend to do that for as long as I possibly can, because anime is indeed awesome and there's nothing like it. So yeah, right now I'm just going to run down my anime list. You guys all know that domain, and I'm just going to tell you the titles of the 11 shows I'm actually watching this season. And then there are actually a couple that I'm going to wait to finish airing before I actually watch them, but I'll get to that later. Anyway, let's carry on. So, starting at the very, very top of the list is Snow White with the red hair. Snow White with the red hair. Whoops, I almost said white hair. Second season. Assassination Classroom. Second season. Let me check what this is called. Oh yeah, it's 4 Rhythm Across the Blue. And then there's the Dagashi Kashi, Dimension W, Heiligen Son Grimgar, HaruChika, KonoSuba, Musaigen no Phantom World, Undefeated Bohemian Chronicles, and Girls of the Wasteland. So that's about it. There's only 11 shows. This is much more lenient than my other mid-season first impressions. I remember one time I had like 20 shows. It was ridiculous. So anyway, let's start at the very top. So Snow White with the red hair. It's the second season, and it's really awesome because, of course, for those of you who watched the first season, it is a really great cast of characters. Personally, for me, I know this is weird saying this, but aside from Shirayukihime, which is the main heroine of the show, I actually really like Kiki. Kiki Saren, which is actually one of the supporting characters. I wish she was a main character. I think she has a really interesting personality. She just started having more screen time in the show. It's about halfway through, of course. So yeah, I definitely recommend you guys checking it out. It's totally recommended for those who really like romance shows, because this totally highlights that. So if you guys really like stuff like that, you should totally look out for this. And next is Assassination Classroom, second season. This is a different arc of the show. I believe it gets a lot more serious. Well, I mean, the show itself is very humorous, so it's kind of a combination between the two, humor and seriousness. You got the whole classroom again. You have Irina Sensei as usual, and then you have let's see, and you have Koto Sensei as usual too. So all the cast is the same. So it's great to see them all back. It's really good. So it has the same type of humor, and the art's simplistic, but it's really good still. So yeah, definitely check that out, guys, if you watch the first season, because why not go to the second season? And next is Kanata no 4 Rhythm. This is a really interesting anime because it takes place in an alternate world where there are these shoes and they have like wings on them. You basically use them to fly, or it's transportation in that world. But then there's also a sport that's related to it, and that's why, technically speaking, it's a sports anime. So it's like, that's weird. I thought this was romance, but it's actually a cross between romance and sports. Usually you don't see a crossover between those two. So it's really great. There's some pretty good humor in there too. I really love the art. It seems like they did a pretty good transition, or carryover or to be more exact, from the light novel to the anime. So I think it's pretty solid. Then next is something that's actually really funny. We have another food-related show. It's called Dagashi Kashi, and it's basically about candy. And it's really funny because there's a pretty famous voice actor that acts the main, or plays as the main female protagonist. She was a seiyuu for Kirino in Origimo, so you know that voice is very recognizable. And she does a great job in this show, and it's just all around really funny. You actually learn quite a lot about the candy that's sold in Japan, which is really cool. Because I actually traveled to Japan once, and I never knew that the candy, or the really affordable candy, was called Dagashi. So I was like, huh. Kind of clarified a bit for me. So I think that's actually really cool. And then after that, we have Dimension W, and this is really cool because it's almost like very reminiscent of like an old school anime with the art style, but yeah, I think it's trying to be like very nostalgic, and it has a really cool opening. The main protagonist dances in the beginning of the opening, so it's actually pretty funny. It reminds me of like Monogatari, where protagonists always dance. Same goes for Is This a Zombie? Protagonist dances a lot, so I think that was cool. He's kind of actually kind of like blunt, but that's actually kind of, that gives a lot of uniqueness to him. And then there's the female protagonist, which is actually Android. It's actually pretty cool. Reminds me of like a lot of other shows. So yeah, it's really different. I think the premise is really interesting because it's about how there's a power source, and the way that Dimension W got its name because there's supposed to be a fourth dimension rather than three. So there's X, Y, and Z, and then the fourth one is W. So W kind of just sets everything apart. It's like, oh, it's forbidden energy that no one can get a hold of. And then there's these like illegal power coils that harness that power, so people try to get profit out of this. So you kind of get a little idea of like the synopsis. I actually think it's really cool, so you guys should definitely check that out if you're into like cyberpunk futuristic shows. Dimension W, really cool. And next is Heiligen Son no Grimgar, and this came out of surprise because I really liked the art from the start. The art like was really captivating. A lot of watercolors were involved, especially if you look at the backgrounds. It's really cool, but it's actually the best way I think to explain it to the anime watchers of this time is that it's a hyper-realistic Sword Art Online, because on the very first episode they have no idea how they got there, and it's like there's so many characteristics of it that make it seem like a game, but that's not the point. I don't even think they ever mention, or I think they kind of do at some point, but it's very vague, and they don't even know what that word means. So it's very cool. It's really realistic. There's a lot of drama involved. The characters are great in that show, so you guys should definitely check that out if you love even game-related anime. I really think that show's perfect for those that love that sort of show. And the next after that is HaruChika. Now HaruChika is a music and mystery anime. Now I know the winter arc's been going on for a while, and this show in particular hasn't gotten too much good press, but the way that this show honestly intrigues me is because of all the exemplification that it gives. Like when a lot of the characters talk about certain scenarios, it gives you examples of it. Much like in another anime which I'll mention, probably a little more into this. It's really interesting. So there's a lot of like random little knowledge bombs that are dropped in the show that I think still give it a little bit of captivation that it needs. And plus it's about music, so I've been a musician, or I was one, in high school. So I mean, of course it means something to me. So that's why I'm probably still watching it. And next is KonoSuba. Now KonoSuba is another game-oriented anime, but it's really funny though, because you have a shut-in you have a useless goddess, you have a magician that can use spells only once, and then you have a I think it's Masochist girl, or like a knight. It's female. I mean, she loves feeling pain for pleasure. I can't even pronounce that well. It's kind of embarrassing. But yeah, you have like all these 4 different characters, and they're all supposed to they're all trying to really like flourish in this fantasy world. And it's really funny because the goddess, her name's Aqua, she asks the shut-in guy, which is the main character, it's like, oh, okay, I'll give you a choice. You just died right now, so you want to go to the fantasy world, which she actually recommended, or do you want to go somewhere else? It's like, okay, take me to this fantasy world. I think I could really be useful there, because he's a shut-in, of course, he plays games a lot, so it makes sense. But then, like most animes, they run into a ton of problems, so it's really, really funny. I think it's probably one of the most funny animes this season. Definitely recommended. So, yes, check that out. And next is Musaigen no Phantom World. It's KyoAni's debut anime for this year. Now, it's really weird because the press for the show it's so much fluctuation for it. It's like on social media, oh, it's pretty decent. But if you look at it from a critical standpoint, it's actually pretty bad, which is kind of sad to say because KyoAni. They have a really big reputation for like really good animes, so it's kind of like anyway, let me get to the synopsis of it. Musaigen no Phantom World takes place when humans can see these things called phantoms, and it's like a glitch in reality. It's like, why am I seeing something like this? And the show goes around all these originations of like psychological theories, historical theories, many factual things about the world. And it's that part of the premises is probably the most interesting part. But then it kind of over-exaggerates one characteristic, which makes it kind of bad, which is, of course, something we all know, which is called fan service. But as I've reminded all of you, I'm not very critical, so I don't really care. I don't really care about numerical rating system, so I still watch it. I mean, I'm not gonna drop it, of course, so I mean, that's only for you folks who think you're gonna drop. I honestly do not recommend dropping shows, because you may actually regret it, so yeah, I'm just staying honest here, because that's what I'm here to do. So, anyway, the art is remarkable, and I actually really love the original soundtrack. There's a lot of really cool, like, piano bass sounds in the music that sounds really cool. And I actually think much like Dagashi Kashi, how it's kind of like very unique that there's a lot of knowledge given to you in the show, which I think makes it pretty valuable. So I mean, it really depends. I mean, you either just drop it instantly, or a couple episodes in, or not drop it like me, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna watch it still. I mean, KyoAni is one of my favorite studios, so I don't think I'm gonna like stop watching their show. So I mean, whatever works for you guys. And next is Undefeated Bahamut Chronicle. Now, this was like a really, really interesting experience. I was like, you watch the first episode, I'm like, alright, yeah, I see a castle, it's gonna be something medieval. And then I'm just like, wait. Where the Infinite Stratos come from? Because in this anime, it's like an alternate world where medieval crosses over with futuristic, and there are these things called drag riders, basically cybernetic exoskeletons, like mechs basically, that knights, quote unquote, use in that world. So it's really, really interesting. I honestly think, I mean, it's a harem, so I mean, people are probably gonna be like, oh no, not again. But hey, I love those, so that's why I'm watching it. And the art's really good. This year, like starting off this year with this season in particular, art is so strong. Like, art is ridiculously good this year. So yeah, Undefeated Bahamut Chronicle is beautiful. And it's really funny, of course, because harems do have humorous elements to them. For those of you who are wondering, if you go on my Tumblr, Crucifer, yeah, she's my favorite. There's about 5 other girls, of course it's a harem, so, I mean, choose your favorite. And anyway, having that sort of like infinite Stratos technology in a very medieval setting is really intriguing. Like, I never do like to see something like that. It literally just like put a question mark top of my head. I was like, what is this? But it's cool, but I'm like, what am I watching? So, yeah, definitely think it's still worth checking out. And last but not least is Girls Beyond the Wasteland. Now, Girls Beyond the Wasteland has a female protagonist that reminds me of one of my favorite shows. My school, I have a poster, or a wall scroll of it right here. Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. Reminds me of it. The main character, or the main female protagonist in that show, Yukino, is basically an otaku version of her in this show, Girls Beyond the Wasteland. I was like, oh my god, I found the perfect version of her. Not saying the other one isn't good because she's fabulous. So I'm like, oh my goodness, it's her in an alternate world, because I don't think she'd ever be into something like that. So yeah, it's really cool. Very much like Saikano, which revolved around making a visual novel, which is actually the premises of this show. So it's really interesting too. It's like shows see an idea from another show carried over to this, or the present time. They're like, oh, now we're gonna do it. So I mean, anime just does what it wants, or the studios do what it wants, or does what it wants, and it's just like, well, okay, now here's your version. So it's romance, I believe it's a harem, and slice of life. I personally really love those 3 altogether. Art is fantastic, and yeah, so that's all 11, you guys. That didn't take very long. There's actually one show that I did not mention, so I haven't actually started watching it, and it's gotten so much good press right now. It's called Erased, and I don't exactly know too much about it, but I know for sure it's like super recommended, so I think I'm gonna watch it when it's finished airing. I know it has to do a lot with time, it has to do a lot with gratefulness. It's very realistic, so yeah, I know it's gotten a lot of good reputation already for this season. I actually heard it might be the best this season. So anyway, you guys, just a little side thoughts with that. But anyway, thank you so much for being here, joining me in this little conversation. Not really little, it's like probably almost half an hour. But in the end, thank you guys. I hope to see you for the next arc. I think next arc is probably summer, or probably spring. I don't know. We'll see. But as always, you guys, stay honest, and I hope to see you again. So I only watched 11. Man, that's different. Still all really good though. We're gonna have to see what the next season can bring. But yeah, sure is something. It's always a ride seeing whatever anime arc or season has each year. I mean, there's so many things that air. I think I'm almost at like 200 watch shows, so it's like ridiculous. It's like growing every single second, and I love it. And then that makes me more excited for AX, because I'm like, ooh, I hope they have merchandise based on the stuff I like. So yeah, we're gonna have to see, guys. Anyway, see you again.